Thanks for joining us on a webinar here on how 3 features that set FarmCommand in-cab tool apart from what you're used to seeing in other softwares. So 3 features that set our in-cab tool apart are we can change the way that you view your jobs compared to some other things that are out there. You can see way more than just your yield or populations on the screen. And then also from our app, you can track your grain storage and your inventory right from your mobile device. So we'll start off with the way you change the way you view your jobs. So this is our current app release screenshot. This is during corn harvest. We have the ability to bring up real-time weather conditions. So in harvest, it's useful, but also when you think of other operations on your farm, be it spraying or spreading or planting, to know what the weather is currently doing, and also have the ability to check that forecast along with pairing the radar with it to show what's currently happening and what could be happening in the future to stay ahead of things. You also have the ability to click on any machine in the job. So in this example, there's a combine and a grain cart. You can click on either machine and then choose what you'd like to see for either machine. And we'll get into that after a little bit here, what those bubbles look like. So I have 3 screens up here. On the left is a overview with all paths. So it's an actual harvest map that is a yield layer as well as the base layer overlaid by all our cart traffic and anything that had a CAN plug in it running across the field. You can see where the black is really heavy. That's extreme traffic. Where it's a little bit lighter, that's just maybe a pass or two. But a map like this and a map like in the middle where you can see how black it is, I personally use that to go back and check some compaction points or residue. If you're in a residue management situation, that's going to be our heaviest traffic. And when we think of this, we now have the ability to add CAN plug X right to our job. So if we had this in our trucks, if this was a silage operation or another operation where trucks are in the field, we'd also be able to track all of their paths as well. The image in the middle and the image to the right are showing that we can actually manipulate our screen by using a 2-finger touch. So we can change into almost like a 3D view and then also twist it to grab all the machines in that operation. So now you can see the 2 cart tractors in those 2 slides there. One filling trucks on both edges of the field, and then the combine going back and forth. So, and all you still have to do is click those icons, which are color coded for your machinery. So this being a John Deere farm, they're green. If they were Case, they'd be red. Cat Challenger, they would be yellow, and so on. So also, if there was trucks involved, you would see a picture of a truck there. So this slide shows the ability. So on the left-hand side, we have the grain cart selected, and you can see it's the 3 tabs I have open, which are editable to what you want to see. You can bring up fuel usage, engine loads, depending on what the implement is, what's all coming across the CAN network. That's all selectable. On a phone, you're going to get 3 bubbles usually. On an iPad or a larger device, you're usually going to get about 6 if you choose. But in this case, you can see the grain cart's going just at about 11.5 miles an hour in that spot. You can see his engine load and also the engine RPM. So one way I use this tool is that tractor is an IVT transmission. I can monitor the transmission usage based on engine RPM if it's dropping to idle with engine load. The one in the middle here is now the grain cart as well, showing it dumping on the go at 5.4 miles an hour. You can see the engine load and the engine RPM again. It also shows that we can bring that weather layer back into it and also bring a legend for what we are seeing as our base layer. You're also able to make observations from this app. So you see the picture of binoculars. We could lay an observation if we see maybe an issue with the crop or a rock or something that needs attention later on. We can also give directions right from this app with that white button that looks like a piece of paper. We can dig into and send directions right to the field. The last piece of it would be that little piece that looks like a ticket with grain on it, the second tab over. This is how we get into our harvest tickets, which we'll go over later, but also into our CAN scale if we were running that. And then on to the right here again, it's just showing the grain cart again, actually selected with its label. We can turn labels on and off, or if you just give it a quick tap, it'll show you the label if you have them off. But on a operation where maybe you have more than 2-3 pieces, you have the ability to turn the labels on all the time, and so you know what you're looking at. This next screen is just going through a few of the layers that are available that you can have with legends, and the legends are all edible. You can set your own breaks in it. You can also change your color spectrum. So in all 3 cases, this is green is low, red is high. You can swap that. So red would be low and green would be high. Off to the left there, we have fuel usage. This is combine and grain carts together, fuel usage. This all goes into FarmCommand and drives a cost layer as well. So we can put a cost to that fuel, and it'll build those layers out as we go through the year. But you also can view it in real time and go back and view it via your paths that you took. The middle one is a grain flow coming off the combine. So this is actually what the grain flow sensors are seeing, whatever grain flow sensor type you're using. Where this is important is when we go back and calibrate data. We can post calibrate all your yield maps with your actual weights that you enter in, and we use that grain flow data to do that. And then on the right here is a speed map. So you can actually see the grain cart and the combine overlaid. You can see where the grain cart was driving faster to try to keep up in some of those situations, and also the paths they took to get to the field. This series of maps is a tillage map, and it's a fuel usage layer. So in this situation, you can see kind of where the more compacted, heavier pulling areas of the field are. You can also see where you free up the implement and turn on the headland. But some people use this almost as a compaction map, or if you're in the hills, almost a topography map of where it's pulling and where it's relaxing. So you can see that the tractor in this case is about 78% of its total torque rating, and we're throttled back a little bit, but it's still using quite a bit of fuel in some of those areas. So just a useful tool that you can go back, and like I said, it's building a cost layer, but you're also able to go back and view it to see where those costs came from, and also in this case where your chisel plow was pulling a little bit harder. So this final map within the in-cab experience is just showing the labels. So kind of I turn the labels on permanently, and you can just kind of see as you're going through it that, you know, if you imagine having multiple pieces of equipment out there, all of these would be labeled. So you can, you know, right away when you're diving into it, just, you know, especially when you're running multiple combines, multiple tractors, you can select the piece that you want to see, and then also edit what you want to see when that piece comes up. So moving on to our harvest tool within the in-cab. So what we do is right from our main menu, we just click that harvest tool. And like I said, you can also get into it from the manager or operator view that we were just looking at. But if you're on the home screen, this is where you would click. And then what you get is a load ticket that comes up with can scale. It'll show that it's Bluetoothed, and the actual scale weight will show. And then it will set the load ticket from when you choose to start and stop your recording. So if you had 60,000 pounds in your cart and you unload 25,000 pounds, it will create a load ticket for that 25,000 pounds and then associate it. What you're able to do then is keep track of it by field, and then also by variety as well. So the next step to this is we can then create storage yards and bins or storage units, bags, silo bunkers, whatever you want to name it. So then we can track our ins and outs. We can associate those load tickets coming in, and then when we haul it out, we can also create load tickets going out, and then we can also associate contracts, grain prices, things like that. There will be in the next app release, there will be a big update coming to storage. It'll be, your bins will be kind of grain color coded, and also it will tell you hopefully the time of bin for basically how stale the bin has been for length of time that it sat with grain in it without being moved. So just kind of another tracking feature that we have.